Ladies and gentlemen, today is a very special episode of the Goggler Podcast because, on his own volition, Bahir Yusuf decided to sit down and watch the first episode of an anime. And, spoiler alert, he liked it!
Yeah.
What is this world we are living in? Who are you? And what have you done to Bahir Yusuf?
But that's the thing, right? I've always said that it's not necessarily the form that I don't like. It is the stories that are being told in the form. There is that cutesy, I don't know, you've got a word for it. You can say it later, but that has always annoyed me about anime. I've always bounced off of the fact that it was too cutesy for my liking.
Okay, so the anime in question is called Dandadan. It is based on a Japanese manga series by Tatsuyoki Nobu. It has recently made a lot of noise because people are exclaiming that it might be the anime of the year. It's an interesting series to describe because it genre bends in a fascinating way. It is a shonen manga, or what's called a boys manga, but it's also a romance manga, an alien manga, and a supernatural thriller manga. And it does all of this in an interesting way because it leans into the tropes of the genre, but also as a way to subvert the genre. So you see some of that cutesy stuff that you dislike, Bahe, but in this circumstance, it is actually used to highlight what it's not.
Yes.
And I find that incredibly fascinating. This
Yeah.
is a weekly release on Netflix. I think if you have Crunchyroll and you're a Crunchyroll subscriber, you may get early access to some episodes. But Dun 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 is absolutely fantastic. And I loved it. And I sent a message to the Goggler WhatsApp group where all of our contributors are. And I was like, hey guys, this is amazing. You should check it out. Some people had. And I think for some reason, it influenced you, Bahe, to go and check it out. And I'm so glad you did. But I want to know, what was it about this one? Like, how did you get past the cutesy stuff? Because the episode starts off in that way. And I think that could have been a turnoff because it takes about 10 minutes to get to the point.
Okay, so I will actually plot out my emotions as the episode was playing out.
Yes.
Okay? Okay, here we go. So it opens with Momo having a fight with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend wants to get in her pants. She says no because the boyfriend isn't quite as, let's say, manly enough for her. At any rate, she then breaks up with the boyfriend, goes to school. So at this point, I'm just like, okay, this feels like it feels like a high school anime thing that I've seen my wife watch. And I was a little cold to it at that point. So she's in a classroom with a friend. She leaves the class to go for a walkabout, sees another kid getting bullied in his classroom, gets the kid out of trouble. Kid, in air quotes, has feelings for her because she's the only person that's spoken to him. I'm still very cold to the show. They then have a fight in the hallway about how one person believes in ghosts and the other believes in aliens, and how the other person's always the ridiculous one. At that point, I'm still very cold because they're doing the big eyeballs thing, the colorful background changes, the works of an anime, right?
Also, important to note, unlike a lot of other anime, all of this happens in quick succession.
It's very quick, I will say.
So the episode is what, 25, 30 minutes long, and
Yes.
this is the first 10 minutes.
Maybe just under 10. So that evening, because they were challenged, Momo goes to a known, air quotes, alien hotspot, whereas Ken goes to a tunnel. Was it like an abandoned tunnel, which is a known sort of supernatural ghost location? And then shit gets weird. And I think that was when I perked up. When the shit started getting weird, and I realized that this isn't a cutesy thing. That's when I perked up. That's when I started going, holy shit, this feels different. Also, it looks different. The characters are very much 2D. However, it's animated in a very 3D world almost. It reminds me a little bit of like Akira's background work. The cameras flowing and turning over them. So that was really exciting. And I kind of fell into it at that point. At that point, I was like, okay, this feels like my jam because I'm also a big fan of aliens and ghosts and all that stuff. So that's when I fell in and I was on board from that point on.
So the genre bending stuff really worked for me as well because yes, we got a little bit of supernatural, a little bit of aliens, all the way back in the X Files. However, I think the way they do it in this feels very unlike Fringe or
Yep.
Evil,
Yep.
in that this is all in. This is completely accepting of the fact that ghosts exist, that the supernatural exists, that telekinesis exists, and that aliens exist. And so you're already entrenched in that world, and there isn't this idea of, is it real? Is it not? Is that the mystery? Is that what we're doing here? No, it's drilling down on the focus of these two characters and how they approach this new reality for each of them.
Yeah, they just accept that these things are there and there's no long will they won't they believe in ghosts or not ghosts and stuff. Yeah.
And I think it's incredibly solid writing that they managed to do the shonen teenage stuff, the romance stuff, the ghost stuff, and the alien stuff, often in the same sequence with drama, tension, and comedy, and it doesn't feel jarring at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just flows.
In fact, there are moments in this episode where there were, I wouldn't call them jump scares, but they were sort of like reveals that I shuddered in a sort of really excited sort of way. And I think that there is also a real understanding with regards to the cinematic abilities of storytelling on a screen compared to on print, right? So they're doing things that they know can work on essentially moving picture. I really liked that. I really like a lot of the colors they used. That was really bright, really strong. There was a lot of excitement in the episode. I will tell you, I have been checking my Netflix more times than I'd like to admit for the next episode because I don't know when the next episode drops. Do you know when it drops? Do you know what day it drops?
I believe it's every Thursday. It's either every Thursday or every Friday.
Okay, so I haven't checked if the new episodes dropped yet. So I'm really looking forward to see how long and if this thing can keep my attention because right now I'm really excited for it.
Also, the depictions in the first episode of both the aliens and the horny turbo granny demon is perfect. This thing goes places. It doesn't pull any punches with regards to darkness or intensity or insanity. And I think, like you said, when it got crazy, that was when I became completely invested as well.
Yeah.
And just to talk about the animation as well, it does that 2D, 3D thing. It does incredible stuff with like black and white imagery. There's a real kineticism whenever something crazy is happening. There is a sequence in which Okarun or Ken like busts out of a phone as the demon, and it looks
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. There is so much stuff happening. I mean, by the end of this episode, everything you need to know about the series is laid out for you. So, in a lot of other manga or anime, it takes some time. They have some introduction, some backstory. It takes a little bit of getting used to before they get into the meat of the actual story. In this one, the meat of the actual story, well, at least as far as we know it, happens right away. At the end
Yeah.
of this episode, one character is possessed by a demon. The other character discovers she has psychokinetic powers and has to use that powers to keep the demon in bay. Sorry. And she has to use those powers to keep the demon at bay. And the both of them become this unlikely pairing, right? Each one needing the other. It's a great setup for future adventures, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm looking for the actual manga because I might want to buy it, but at the same time, I don't want to read ahead.
Yeah. Because that's what one of the guys on the contributors WhatsApp group was telling me. Like, you should check out the manga. The manga is really excellent. I'm like, I'm tempted and I'm curious. However, I don't want to read ahead of the episodes. You know what I mean? My primary language for this title, at least, is the TV show. So I want the TV show to lead me. as opposed to knowing what's going to happen because I've read it on the comic. Also, because I don't know if there will be a reinterpretation for the TV show. They may remove certain bits, they may add certain bits. So I'd like the TV show to be the first one to lead how I enjoy Dan Dan Dan.
This is a good one. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
I just want to temper expectations a little bit because I know you're excited that I'm really excited for this show, but also we've only seen the first episode.
You shut your mouth.
Okay.
Just lean into it. Lean into the excitement, Bahir.
I'm on board for now. I just want to see where this goes. If they keep the pace of that first episode, the way it moves, the way it looks, and even some of the musical cues were beautiful. Like it was great, just like really exciting stuff. And I'm looking forward to episodes 2 and forever. Yeah.
All right, here's a challenge for all of you listening. Given that Bahir seems to like Dan Dan Dan, and I understand this is a very specific genre, what other things might he like and maybe should watch? Also, let us know what you think of Dan Dan Dan. It is now streaming on Crunchyroll, on Netflix. You know how to reach out. All of our social media feeds are Goggler MY. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.